Good afternoon. Welcome to another presentation by the City Club of Idaho Falls. My name is Greg Crockett, and I send greetings from our Board of Directors. And again, another program that we're managing to pull together virtually. So it's a pleasure to have all of you, whoever you are out there, join us today. Our program today is made possible by the excellent production crew here at IHE Productions in Idaho Falls. They include Cole Hammond, Gary Stewart, Chad Hammond. Let me say we owe a great deal of gratitude to these gentlemen and IHE Productions who have done so much to help our community stay connected during this COVID crisis. So once again, thank you to IHE Productions. I extend my further gratitude on behalf of the City Club Board of Directors to the sponsors of City Club who make it possible for us to basically put on these monthly programs. They include the Bank of Idaho, INL, the Idaho Humanities Council, FLUR, KISU Radio, ISU, and Mountain View Hospital. Another reminder to our audience that we have been in operation for in excess of 10 years, and we have archived all our past City Club programs that are accessible via the internet at our website, ifcityclub.com. So if you've missed one of our programs, you can go on our website, see what you might have missed, and tune in from there. A program reminder for our program coming up next month, January 21st. Please put that on your calendar. At that time, we will host Alex Adams. He is the director of the Division of Financial Management for the state of Idaho, and likewise serves on Governor Little's Coronavirus Advisory Council. This office has a great deal of responsibility at the front end of the legislative session because they have to do a financial projection of what the revenues will be for the state of Idaho. And you can imagine what a complex problem that results to be in the age of COVID. And of course, you could also take notice, and maybe our guest speaker today, President Green, has taken notice of the fact that Idaho's in a very envious position of having a $630 million budget surplus. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the day, Dr. David Gray Adler. As you're all very familiar with Dave and his duties as moderator and board member of the City Club of Idaho Falls. He is a notable professor of political science, currently serves as the president of Alturas Institute, speaks nationally as a well-read author and a very well-known speaker. Dr. Adler will introduce our guest speaker today. Dr. Adler.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thanks very much. And just to let you all know, this is President Greg Crockett's first City Club luncheon since taking the helm as president. He is the third president in the history of the City Club of Idaho Falls, having succeeded our most recent president, Jerry Scheid, who of course succeeded Mark Young. So welcome to the helm, President Greg Crockett. And welcome to all of you. I'm very happy that you could join us today for a very special program. We have for a long time looked forward to the opportunity to host the relatively new University of Idaho President C. Scott Green here in Eastern Idaho. President Green took office as the 19th president of the University of Idaho on July 1, 2019. And of course, he joined the U of I as a very highly accomplished executive with a career in global finance, operations, and administration. And he's also a proud alumnus of the University of Idaho, graduating in 1984 with a Bachelor of Science in accounting. President Green is a son of Idaho, born in Moscow, He and his family moved to Boise, where he graduated from Boise High School. And following his graduation from the University of Idaho, this third generation Vandal went to work for Boise Cascade Corporation. Apparently, he wasn't done with his education, because then he left to go to Harvard and earned an MBA at the Harvard Business School. After graduating from Harvard in 1989, he began a long and distinguished career with some of the world's leading firms in the area of banking, finance, accounting, and law. For example, he worked for Deloitte and Touche. He went on to work in a number of banking and management roles at Goldman Sachs and ING Barings. And while doing all of this, he published 2 books on Sarbanes-Oxley. That's the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, well known to all of you. And of course, that reformed regulations around the world of auditing and financial reporting. He then set his sights on working for some of the world's most distinguished law firms, holding leadership positions in global law firms, including CEO at Pepper Hamilton, and then as executive director at WilmerHale. And he moved on to Hogan Lovells, one of the largest law firms in the world. I think it's important for everyone to know that as the first non-lawyer to run an American Law 100 firm, President Green was recognized as one of the top 50 big law innovators over the last 50 years by American Law magazine in 2013. He is the recipient of numerous awards from the worlds of banking, auditing, and law. His commitment to the University of Idaho reflects his very deep roots, including service on the University of Idaho's Alumni Association's National Board of Directors and the University of Idaho Foundation Board, among other commitments. He and his wife, Gabriella, who's an interior design project manager, have 2 adult children, Nicholas and Christina. And may we say once more, welcome back to your homeland, President Green. It's a great privilege for us to have you join us today. We're very glad you could find time in your schedule. And so welcome to the City Club of Idaho Falls.
Great. Well, what a great introduction, David. I had forgotten half the stuff I've done. I definitely appreciate that very kind introduction. And hello, everyone. I'm just really excited to be with you. As I was saying to Greg and David earlier, this is the fun stuff. Being able to talk to our leaders out there in the community. So thank you for the invitation. The University of Idaho is Idaho's land grant university. I think most of you know that. And what that really means is it's the only institution in the state that serves each of Idaho's 44 counties. And that means that we're here to serve all Idahoans, including everyone on this Zoom call today. So we have a stake in our collective success, whether that's preparing our students to fill the jobs that you need to have filled, conducting research for your business or community, or helping you with community-based training that can advance you and your workforce. Therefore, we are literally your university, and we're the university for all of Idaho's citizens. We've had a presence in Idaho Falls for 65 years, thanks to a fruitful partnership with INL. And I'd like to give a shout out to Amy Lentz, who's, I understand, on your board and a great alumnus of ours, and she's at the Idaho National Laboratory, who helped organize much of this event today. So, and one of my favorite people over there in Idaho Falls. So thank you, Amy, very much. We have over 400 alumni working at INL, and it's through partnerships like the ones we have at INL that we can successfully meet the needs of our students and our state. So, with that, I'd like to talk about some of the goals today. And I don't know if the presentation is up, but if so, I can certainly talk through it. And what I'd like to talk to you about today is the positive impact that the University of Idaho delivers to Idaho Falls and the state. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about how some of the hard work addressing COVID-19 and the financial challenges of the past year has really, interestingly enough, set us up for future success on our campus and in Moscow and frankly in locations throughout the state. And then finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about my three priorities. And those are supporting student success, research, and telling the story of higher education, so more Idaho high school students will go on to college and a career that benefits them and the state of Idaho. So first of all, let me talk about Idaho Falls and our statewide impact. We work hard to produce students who graduate ready to contribute to the industry and the economy of this great state. And we strive to conduct research that assists our partners, whether it's through air and water quality monitoring for agriculture or cybersecurity education or nuclear and other programs that support the work you do there in Idaho Falls. We've created some great partnerships with industry in all corners of the state and including southeastern Idaho. Obviously, INL, the big player there. We've got many exciting projects in the works where the public colleges and universities are playing a strong supporting role. And these will lead to jobs for our future graduates. And for instance, INL, they need PhDs in the STEM fields. And this was discussed recently at the Nuclear Consortium meeting. And we're actively working to up our program here and making big investments in our research mission to help meet that need. We work hard to meet the needs of employers, and we're always looking for ways to align our programs to the needs of industry. And there are many examples of that where we've actually altered our curriculum to meet the needs of those who end up hiring our students. And that's part of our success and why we command some of the highest starting salaries in the state. One example is the research monitoring we do from our Parma Extension Center. Researchers there can identify airborne plant pathogens and notify farmers. We have 20 of these sites around Idaho, and notify those farmers so they can respond before they even see damage to their crops. And who knows how much that's saving, the state every year and these farmers every year. But there's no question it's a significant amount. That same type of work happens with water. The University of Idaho, our extension faculty tracks snowpack, water consumption, crop yields, and plant growth across the state to get a complete picture of water quality and availability for growers in the state and in our community, so we can help have those conversations early on about what the year is going to look like. Idaho is the nation's, and this won't surprise anybody on this call, but Idaho is the nation's top producer of both potatoes and barley. And much of it is grown, right there in southeastern Idaho with resources and advice from our research and extension faculty. 90% of the potatoes grown in Idaho, and some over 60%, throughout the country, can trace their roots back to the germplasm facility we operate. I visited many of the University of Idaho's East Idaho Extension offices this fall to assess the outreach work that they're doing and discuss how we're adding value to each county. And it is clear that we're delivering a lot of advice and services that are important to our partners in agriculture, industry, and the community. But Amelia, there's more we can do to tell our story, and we're going to be working hard on that over the next year and ensure that work is made more widely available to anyone who could utilize it. Taken together, these projects represent some of the $113 million in research the university conducted last year. And much of that, which happens in conjunction with industry, government partners, or some of our peer institutions that we work collaboratively with. Strengthening the University of Idaho's research engine is one of my priorities as president, along with prioritizing student success and telling the story of higher education. So those three things. One research project you've probably heard about is Cafe, and that's our research dairy facility we're constructing in the Magic Valley as part of an ongoing effort to collaborate and support the dairy industry within the state of Idaho. You probably know, but the Magic Valley is home to 14 of the 20 Idaho-based dairy processors in the third largest dairy producing state in the nation. It's amazing. When I left here, I think we were ranked number 20. And when I got back, we were ranked number 3. So it's been quite an amazing growth down there in the Magic Valley. The Center for Agriculture, Food, and the Environment, CAFE, will support companies including Chobani and Glanbia and other major producers down in that area. They'll be the nation's largest research dairy and has already attracted over $10 million in federal research money that will be brought to Idaho, brought here to our home state over the next 5 years. The project includes a 2,000 cow dairy, a 1,000 acre demonstration farm where we can actually utilize and understand sustainability practices from using some of the outputs from the dairy to help create outputs from the farm. It also includes a public outreach and engagement center and a processing pilot facility that we're building together with College of Southern Idaho on their campus. The Idaho Central Credit Union Arena is another example that we're building in Moscow of those industry collaborations. It's an athletic and events venue being built in partnership with the state's forest products industry. The timber is sourced from Idaho lands, including our own experimental forests. It's processed by Idaho companies, turned into lumber. And then the building then is taken down and turned into mass timber, either at the Boise Cascades plant in Homedale or Hubie's plant up in Salmon, Idaho, and into these beautiful mass timber structures. And then it is constructed using Idaho labor as well. So again, doing everything we can to keep that money in the state of Idaho and keeping our people working. Once completed, the ICCU Arena will be a showcase for what can be done in mass timber construction. And it has truly turned out to be a beautiful building. If you haven't seen it, go on our website and take a look. We have cameras on it. It shows the progress, and it's going to be an incredibly beautiful structure. Another project in final stages of planning is to replace the aging and dilapidated and frankly a bit embarrassing facilities that we have at the Idaho Center for Plant and Soil Health at Parma. The project is supported across the state's agricultural industry. We currently have 8 different commodity groups that have contributed to that project, because that's demonstrating the cross-industry support for the effort because of the value that they're getting out of that facility. I recently had lunch with both a farmer and a legislator there in southeastern Idaho, and he's excited about this. And you think, well, what does he care? It's Parma's on the other side of the state. Well, we have the nation's leading nematode researcher. I didn't even know what a nematode was, but they're little microscopic worms, and some of them can be very dangerous. And he relies on him, and he just thinks he's the best thing that's happened to Idaho. So there is value for this facility, across the state and the research that we're doing there. Here in Idaho Falls, or there in Idaho Falls, the award of the NuScale Small Modular Reactor Simulator that is slated to be placed in Idaho Falls will be a tremendous research tool for years to come. And it's going to strengthen our bond with NuScale and the Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems that are also in partnership on this. That NuScale simulator that we're putting into our building there on the Idaho Falls campus, actually, I think we were putting it in our building. I think we're now putting it into the joint building there on the INL campus. Fortunately, we got that worked out. But that advanced reactor simulator will create advanced research that's going to have great benefit to power generation. And so we're very excited about that. And it's really going to move the state of Idaho forward. And when people start thinking about nuclear, right now they think about Tennessee, but we want them to be thinking about Tennessee and Idaho. And I think this is going to do that. Cybersecurity and computer sciences are example of fields where the U of I's also continue to meet the need of our employers, including INL, through programs there in Idaho Falls. Kevin Satterley, the president of ISU, I couldn't agree with him more on this, says that cybersecurity needs to be the new English. I mean, we need to be teaching it to everyone. And we're going about doing that through a collaboration with the other universities and the 2-year institutions as well, which we'll talk about shortly. But what I really want to do is kind of tell you a bit of a story to kind of tell you about how good our people are here in Idaho on cybersecurity. It's an often overlooked and under marketed thing. So when I was touring our facility there in Idaho Falls, in a building we share with ISU, I went down to the basement. I couldn't even get back there if I tried at this point. And I walk into a room, and in this room, I noticed a couple things. There are about 3 or 4 master's students there, a professor, and then on the front of the wall is this big, television screen of the world with things flashing, things that are red, things that are green, and along the wall, I mean, more coffee pots than I've ever seen in one place in my entire life, or coffee machines. And my first question is, well, what is it about these, what's going on in here? And they said, well, we're doing some war games, and there's a cyber attack coming out of the Ukraine, and we're defending. And I said, well, what's with the coffee makers? Well, the thermo characteristics of each one of those coffee makers represented a nuclear facility, and those characteristics, the thermodynamics, they were programmed to mimic nuclear reactors, which I thought was really interesting. And then my final thing, before I left the students was, which I'll talk about a little bit, our iron network, but we're about to get our IRON network going live, which enables all of the state's institutions to securely talk to each other and to the government. And I said, well, you're going to be able to have war games with Moscow pretty soon, Moscow, Idaho. Are you ready to take down our campus? And they said, oh, we're ready. We're just waiting for permission. So, and what that really did was it just gave me a lot of confidence. I mean, they're confident and I'm confident that they're ready to go out and, help secure our country. And, I tell you, our placement rate's unbelievable. And a lot of our kids go on to the NSA out of that program. So, again, a really important program, not only for the state, but for our country. So sorry, just trying to catch up with where I am here. I had a small technical problem, and I just did again. It likes to keep going back to the same place. I'm not sure why. Also, there's this other collaboration there on INL, which I referenced. It's called C3, the Collaborative Computing Center in Idaho Falls. And it's going to help us continue that cyber mission I was just talking about. C3 engages Idaho students at the U of I, ISU, and BSU together in education, classified research, and intern activities, which really does help prepare our state and bolster the economics of our state. So it's a very exciting thing. Cybersecurity. I'm sorry, I'm having some real problems here with my technology, which has never really happened to me before here. So again, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take a break here for a minute until I figure out what's going on here.
Well, take your time, President Green. We're accustomed to glitches in this new difficult world where challenges seemingly are around every corner. So we've been through this before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually never had this happen to me before, but it just did. And it likes to keep going back. And so if I'm going to try to reopen this, if I can give you, you can give me a second. Okay. Well, I'm just going to continue from memory. It won't be as good, but I clearly have some problems here with oh wait, now it's trying to. Just was no, it's still not going to let me do it. Okay, so basically our nuclear engineering faculty, as you're probably aware, are are first rate there, and I think we're going to be able to do a lot as well as with our cyber. But again, I wanted to talk a little bit about C3 and really the state's 8 public institutions, which is the 2 years and the 4 years, are looking for ways to collaborate. And I'm part of a group that's called the President's Leadership Council that is made up of presidents of all the state's public colleges and universities. And Kevin Satterley actually leads this, the president of ISU. He's done a great job. He's really enabled us to, really come together. There's not a lot of ego in the room, and there's just a lot of collaboration. We want to do the right thing for the state. It's a new way of thinking. It's kind of hard to actually push that culture down in each of our universities, but we're working hard on it. And the group is currently working with the region's employers to find more unique ways to foster, that collaboration. It really is a new way of accomplishing things within the state. And I think it's going to lead to better outcomes for the people of the state of Idaho. Rather than fighting over, what's right for each of our institutions, we're able to do the right things for the state. So I give Kevin a lot of credit for that, and I've really enjoyed working with him. We're also looking for ways to collaborate with the community colleges. And one example is the College of Eastern Idaho. We worked with CI, and it's not easy, but it sounds easy, but it's not. But you have to work through all the different degrees and programs. But we have a joint admissions agreement with CEI that now allows CEIs to, when they enroll in the College of Eastern Idaho, they're actually already accepted and enrolled in the University of Idaho. So they can do a seamless, work from 2 years at CEI and then seamlessly go to the U of I and finish off with a bachelor's of science. And it's a very efficient way for folks, who are involved in the community colleges, and it may be going there because it's inexpensive and local, that they can continue their education. So again, a lot of good collaboration. Taken all together, the University of Idaho, we produce over $1.1 billion in economic impact to the state of Idaho. And we're an important economic engine for everywhere in the state, and not just in Moscow. Our ability to prepare a quality future workforce that can compete at the highest levels is one of our strengths, together with our ability to produce knowledge in agriculture, engineering, science, and other areas through our research enterprise, which enables value creation and economic growth. But as we've all experienced over the past 6 months, digital access is critical for the University of Idaho to be able to fulfill its land grant mission. And so we are making a number of investments in that throughout the state. We've been fortunate to have many students learning in person this fall in Idaho, and obviously COVID-19 has played quite a role in how we've been able to deliver our instruction. But we've been delivering high quality instruction for 130 years, and so that's what our students really expect from us. Recognizing that testing was on the critical path to keeping our community healthy, we worked with our local hospital there, Gritman Medical Center, to open our own COVID-19 testing lab this past summer. And that proved critical to being able to stay open this year. We tested every single student in Moscow before they could enter a classroom. And our team also maintained isolation space, where we cared for nearly 300 students over the course of the semester that were living in our residence halls and Greek chapter facilities that ended up testing positive. So we were able to care for them there. And some say they actually liked our isolation facility better than where they came from. They said the food was better, which I thought was a remarkable comment, and tells you something about the food we're delivering elsewhere. Through wastewater testing, we identified also an outbreak on Greek Row earlier this year, and you may have been following some of this in the news, but we completed focus testing and quarantine of some of the Greek houses, and then completed a second round of testing for all Moscow students in October, and really put that threat down. So again, kudos to our team, and again, we couldn't have done that without having our own testing facility that could turn around those tests within 48 hours at worst. Since opening that lab that I'm talking about, we completed more than 20,000 tests for students, faculty, and staff this past fall, with a positivity rate of about 2.5%. So we really helped keep not only the campus healthy, but also our community by keeping, identifying those students who had contracted the virus very quickly, and being able to contact trace and put the virus down. So when possible also, and we're doing that right now because with the students not on campus now, we have a lot of excess capacity. We're supporting the state, and particularly those long-term care facilities. We've had a couple instances where they had some outbreaks, and we're able to help them put the virus down. We're helping Lewis and Clark State College nursing students, meet their requirements so that they could start their studies and helping their community, and others, throughout the community. And I actually heard I think it was 2 days ago, someone in the community actually got tested a COVID test, and since our lab is now available for pretty much the Moscow community, they got the results back the same day, and they were pretty shocked about that. So again, it just gives us capability that we wouldn't have had otherwise. Obviously, we've done some of the things that the other colleges and universities have done as well, such as limited classroom capacity to 50%, tripled the number of Zoom-capable classrooms on campus, and many large campus event spaces were converted to full-time classrooms to allow for social distancing. The investments we made over the summer to prepare for this experience, including, which not only included the testing, which was not a small deal. We also invested in thermal imaging scanners that we put around our food courts to ensure everyone coming in that they didn't have a temperature or were otherwise sick. We also issued every faculty and staff personal protection equipment. We developed our own hand sanitizer after we learned a lot of the commercial sanitizers were being diluted down, and just took a lot of steps to ensure that we could ensure that we were provided the safest environment possible. When we made it to Thanksgiving, and after Thanksgiving, our students, really didn't want to come back after that, and it made sense to us from a safety protocol. So, they went online for 2 weeks, and then this past week they've been taking their finals. So, last week and this week. So, we made it through. We stayed open, and for us, that was quite an accomplishment. So again, looking forward in January, we're going to start it all over again. So I told our team, get some rest over the holiday season. They've earned it. But come January 13th, we'll ensure that every student on our campus is again tested, and that we start off the right way to protect our community. And obviously, COVID-19 has also had an impact on our numbers and enrollment. Last spring, we were pretty excited because our applications at the University of Idaho were up 16%, and our acceptances were up 14%. So they were high quality applications. But then COVID hit, and boy, I tell you, it changed everything overnight, and still impacting us as we look at our enrollments, for the spring. But at the end of the day, our full-time head count was down 3%. You might have heard a headline number of 9.5, but that was really with dual enrollment of high school students, which the good news is there's really no margin in that. We kind of do that as a service, so there's no financial impact. But the bad news is it means that also those students clearly in the high schools weren't able to take their dual credit classes because, they're taking their other classes and the high schools were otherwise closed, and there are priorities. So, but we're down 3%, which was definitely manageable. And that compares, I got a number today from a national number from out of a clearinghouse database that nationally universities were down on average 13.5%. So, we feel pretty good about the incoming class being down, just slightly. It's also, the expenses that we've had have been significant. They've added to our financial, burden as well. But we've made a lot of progress on the financial front at the university. I know we've got a lot of alumni here, and so they've been following it. And for 2 years we ran, $20 million losses back to back, and it was a very serious situation, to be honest. But we put in processes and controls, and communicated with our people and let them know what was going on and how they could help. And frankly, they did better than I expected. We ended up with a small operating surplus for fiscal year 20, which included $7 million revenue losses associated with COVID. So they really did great. It's really stunning if you think about it. I'd asked that we reduce, our operating budget by 14 million, and that was my expectation. We probably still have a small operating loss, but it just shows you people cared about the university. The people that work there really care. And at the end of the day, we improved our position by $22 million, and they just did the right thing and went above and beyond. So I'm just very proud of our community and our university for taking a big problem and despite COVID, addressing it. We're not out of the woods yet. We still have negative unrestricted reserves as calculated by the state board, but we will, we've turned the ship around, and we will, address that situation as well over the next couple of years, and we're on our way to being a very healthy, financially healthy university. We're much better placed than last spring, despite operating, in the confines of a pandemic, and now we're kind of looking forward, and we realize that we have an opportunity if we can stay open this spring and manage our way through COVID this spring, that not only will we come out in a more solid financial footing, but in a much better strategic position as well. We've been able to advance a lot of our strategic initiatives, many of which I'd like to talk about, and those really include student success, research, and telling our story. Those three items. So regarding student success, that means a lot of things to a lot of different people. But one of the most important things for me is that when you take a look at Pell Grants and scholarships and other types of aid for Idaho students, there's still about a $5,000 funding gap, for many students to attend the University of Idaho. And for many, that's the difference between going on to college or not. And we all know the cost of not going on to college. It's not just financial. There's a lot of other not so pleasant things that come along with that over a person's lifetime. So we do offer about $30 million in scholarships and waivers every year, by the most in the state, but that's still a number that we need to grow, and we have a real need, and because we turn away a lot of students because of the financing side of it. They're just not able to come. I shouldn't say turn away, they don't come, even though they're admitted and highly qualified. One of the scholarships that we've been working on is called the Vandal Promise, which fills that $5,000 gap for 4 years. So, again, it's need-based, and for those who qualify, enables those students who wouldn't otherwise be able to come to campus, to have a higher education. We currently have about 40 of those Vandal Promise scholarships. Last year, we had our first cohort of about 24 that came through, and they had a 3.4 GPA. So, competed very well. And again, those are students who wouldn't have been at the university otherwise, and are transforming their lives. The U of I have to say, despite this, is a great value. We were already ranked in the top 6% of all public colleges and universities, and we saw a jump this fall in our rankings by U.S. News and World Report. We also broke into the top 50 in the best value rankings on a list where the top 2 schools were Harvard and Princeton. So it's not about necessarily cost, it's also about quality and truly about value. And that list actually consists mostly of private institutions. Of the few public schools on that list, only North Carolina and Virginia were ranked higher than the University of Idaho. So, we are, and they have ranked us as the #1 best value public university in the West. Better than the Montana schools, better value than the Utah schools, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, everyone around us. So we're very proud of that. And obviously, we always knew we had good quality and that we offer great programs, but it's great to be recognized for that. So, again, when people say about Idaho schools offering value, we're some of the best values in the country at this point. University of Idaho also improved our ranking as a top 100 public university and is now listed among the best colleges for veterans and social mobility in the U.S. And we do have a number, still about a third of our students are first gen. And for us, that's just a pride point for us, that we're able to really transform not only the lives of those individuals, but their families and what they'll look like going forward. So we're continuing to make investments in our online infrastructure so we can meet students where they are as well. The traditional in-person learning experience most students had just 6 months ago is going to look very different going forward. And COVID has changed everything. We all know now, faculty know they can put their classes online. We know we can offer streaming. We can provide a distance learning in new and ways, and the technology supports it. It's able to scale up so that we can support it. So, we're going to continue to be a destination campus. And provide that experience. It really is a differentiator for us. But there will also continue to be demand for distance learning, and we're going to retain some of these distance learning capabilities and extend them, particularly to those parts of Idaho where maybe some of these students would not be able to afford to come to one of our campuses around the state, but they might be able to get to an extension office. And so we're improving our outreach there and our online capability and investing into the technology. In fact, we've invested nearly $1 million already to improve distance learning technologies in the classrooms, creating new recording studios, providing laptops and software to capture lectures, and again, improving our bandwidth within our extension offices throughout the state. Our IT team also used grant funding to bring broadband internet, which had, unbelievably, it had very little broadband, to publicly to accessible wireless to our extension officers in Boundary, Bonner, and Kootenai counties, as well as the Sandpoint Organic Agriculture Center. So northern Idaho now has very good broadband and good connection capability. But importantly, I talked about iron earlier, as part of our secure communications around the state that we're a member of. They are in the process of expanding broadband to 12 additional Idaho counties, including some in eastern Idaho. So it's not a large investment for the U of I to link to these expanded nodes. So we're very excited, which will also provide distance learning delivered education opportunities for any of our campus or research centers. So, if you've got somebody who's, living in Driggs and can't come to, our Idaho Falls campus, we can still stream some of the classes happening there, and they can take those classes and get their degree, from an extension office, there near Driggs. So again, we're excited about this. It's going to provide a lot of great opportunities for our students around the state. We actually launched a distance education working group to delve into distance learning and to develop a roadmap so we can execute on this. And really, their roadmap calls for not only providing some of these things I'm talking about, but also for making distance learning available for dual credit, because some of the high schools around the state are too small to have a lot of teachers who have master's degrees, which are required to teach dual credit. So we can stream those classes directly into those high schools now going forward. And they also talk about combining online learning with time in one of our centers, which is a great model. It's a model we've used in our energy executive course now, which we've been offering for about 68 years, I believe. So, and highly successful. And core that you see a lot of courses at Harvard also do the same thing. You do some studying online, then you spend a week or two, on campus and with live instruction with the faculty and bringing the cohort together. It's a great model. So look for more of that from us. So the experience that students have is really important to us in the Vandal family, and we're continuing to make progress to ensure these students feel supported, not just academically, but in that entire experience, to feel like they're really part of something, because then they'll be more successful. And one way we deliver that is through undergraduate research, which is the second area priority that I've been talking about. Between half and 2/3, closer usually to 2/3 of our undergraduates participate year in and year out in research. And that is unique. As most of you know, most universities in the country, all the great research is done by the master's and PhD students. They're the ones who get to go out in the field and the labs and do it. That is different at the University of Idaho. Our kids are out in the field. They're in the lab. So when they graduate, even with their undergraduate degree, they're already poised to add value to our industry partners throughout the state. And that's why they love hiring Vandals. They have that opportunity. And again, there's very few places you can get that. Finally, the third thing I'd like to talk about is telling the story of higher education. I expect that this year is going to continue to be, coming is going to be difficult for recruiting. There are very few high schools open. I did have the opportunity to recruit students in a couple of different places this fall, including Driggs, which I was just talking about, where I met with seniors in person at Teton High School as part of our Enroll Idaho Tour program. That program really is where we just demonstrate that going on to higher education will make them healthier, wealthier, and wiser. And we help them enroll in any Idaho higher education institution of their choosing. If they want us to enroll them in College of Eastern Idaho right there, we'll do it. We'll get that done. But what Enroll Idaho really does is it shows the impact that what it really does is shows the impact of that educational experience by, we literally put, it looks like real money, but it really isn't, $1 million on the table. We put that on the table, and they look at that and they go, wow. And they say, I could use that money. There's a lot I could do with that. But we also talk about how if they get a higher education, they're likely to live about 9 years longer, according to most statistics that are out there. They also, will be more involved in the community and live happier lives, and all the statistics show this. So we have that conversation, and our goal is after COVID is to try to get back into the high schools. But my point being is that because many of the high schools are closed, I think enrollment's is going to continue to be pressured next year. We're even seeing this fall. Some of the freshmen that have already been on campus for a semester, they're late signing up for their classes going forward. It's just everything seems to be delayed, and we just hope that not too many students are actually delaying their education like we saw, in the fall. We just once you delay it, it's actually hard to get back into the system. It's hard to get yourself mentally prepared to actually get back into it. So we see that as a challenge going forward. So those are our priorities. Again, student success, improving our research mission, and getting out and telling our story. And the way we're going to finance a lot of this is we did just do, you might have read about it, a public-private partnership transaction where we raised money through a 50-year lease of our steam plant. Which will generate $6 million a year. And that money is going to go into student scholarships, our online distance learning initiative, and our march to become an R1, Research One, Carnegie Research One is research institution. And the reason that's important is because the R1 institutions, not only do you get the vast majority of the money, they get all the best research. And we punch above our weight. At $113 million, we already do enough to be an R1, but we need to improve the number of PhDs we push through the system, and that's exactly what INL needs. And so we're aligning and gearing up to do that. So with that, that's kind of a summary of everything I wanted to talk about today. I'm sorry about the technology issues and the problems I've had. But again, hopefully this was a good presentation. Hopefully you got what you needed out of it. Just know that we believe that the University of Idaho is a university on the rise, and all the metrics would indicate we're doing great and improving across the board, and we've got a lot to be proud of this past year, and we've accomplished a lot in 18 months. We're also very proud of our facilities there in Southeast Idaho, our extension offices, and our campus there in Idaho Falls. And we're there for you. And we just want you to know that, this is your University of Idaho. And we're there to help, with the jobs. We're there to help with the training. We're there to help with any research that you need. We're there for you. And it doesn't matter where you went to school, you're a taxpayer here and we're here to support you. So, and let's not forget the 4-H programs, because they're just so important to our state, and they're often forgotten, but it's one of our most important programs, in my opinion. And I just take great joy in watching those kids develop. So, with that, I will turn it back over to you, David, and just thank everybody. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, President Green, for your insightful remarks. And you covered a lot of ground seamlessly, I would add, despite the technological glitches. But they don't bother anybody down here. You have a very friendly audience. You're surrounded by Vandals. As you mentioned, our board members, Amy Lins and Greg Crockett, are proud alums. I certainly have fond memories of my days as a member of the law faculty at U of I. So there were no worries here at all.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you very much. And so we have a number of questions for you in our limited time together. First of all, the governor of Idaho, Brad Little, just announced this week that he recognizes that Idaho enjoys roughly a $630 million surplus. As president of U of I, do you have expectation that higher education might be in line for some of that surplus?
Well, I would hope so, and I again, I think we could actually use it. This has been a tough time for everybody, and most of at least within higher education, most of us I think all of us actually in the 4-year institutions, have taken mandatory furlough to help cover some of the 5% holdbacks that we had. And I've been told not to expect those to be reversed, but it's my hope that given that we do have a significant surplus, that at least our budgets won't continue to be cut. And there are some legislators around the state that have this view of higher education that just doesn't meet reality. That we're not adding value, but we add great value, and it's recognized throughout the country at this point, at least for the University of Idaho. So. I'm hopeful that they'll realize that we've gotten our financial house in order. We're running very efficiently. We've taken steps that have lowered our headcount and reduced our expenses by well over $20 million. And so I think we're an incredible value for not only our students, but for the citizens of the state of Idaho. So hopefully they'll feel it in their hearts to do something for us this year, because Lord knows we've been through it, and we've really been working hard to help support the community through COVID.
It's been a very difficult time, as you've indicated. Well, you certainly made a very powerful case that U of I is a terrific engineering powerhouse for the state, and an economic powerhouse, generating some $1.1 billion in revenue. That's a number that should speak to a lot of legislators and others interested in supporting higher ed, would you say?
Yeah, no, I would agree, and that's our responsibility to tell that story. A year and a half ago, I really didn't blame any of the legislators for their view, to be honest. I understood where they were coming from, because we didn't do a very good job of telling our story. But we're getting it out there now, so I'm just hopeful that they'll listen and be receptive.
Yeah. President Green, as you well know, two of the concepts that are being discussed so widely here in America are diversity and inclusion. And certainly higher education is at the forefront of trying to promote those principles. What sorts of things are you doing at the University of Idaho, or might you do in the near future, to promote diversity and inclusion, particularly for women and persons of color in these traditional male bastions, such as engineering and cyber security and so forth?
Yeah, so frankly, we already do quite a bit, and I wouldn't say that we're the leaders. Actually, industry is the leaders, and we provide what they need at the end of the day. And there's strong demand, for highly qualified students, and to have a diverse background only makes these companies stronger, and they know that. And I've experienced that in the teams that I've built globally as well. The more diverse outlooks that you have, the better decisions that you end up making. So for us, it's about breaking down at the University of Idaho. It's about breaking down barriers to education, and that includes not only persons of color, but it includes those first gen students who may be coming off the ranch. It may be a veteran. These are all underrepresented classes that we need to break down barriers to make it easy for them to attend the University of Idaho and get a world-class education, because as a state, we'll benefit from it. And it's really what our industry partners quite rightly like to see.
We here in Eastern Idaho enjoy very much the strong relationship that we have with the University of Idaho, and we take note of the growing relationship that the U of I has with Idaho Falls, for example. And all we have to do is to look at those two beautiful buildings on the INEL campus, the Cyber Core and Computing Center. Everybody admires those. What sorts of things do you have in mind going forward over the next few years to enhance your presence in Idaho Falls and strengthening the relationship with Idaho National Laboratory?
Yeah, it's a great question, David. I think it's a relationship we haven't paid proper attention to, and frankly haven't put in the right incentives for particularly our Moscow-based faculty to spend time there. And I have found there is desire. We were trying to get a delegation of young faculty down there just before COVID hit, and then we had to cancel for obvious reasons. But we want to get that thing kicked off as soon as we can, because they're looking, again, these young faculty have got the energy, they want to do the research, and they want to look at ways to work with INL. And we want to, and again, like I said, we're aligning ourselves to meet some of the PhD needs that they're asking for. So we've got a lot of great ideas about how we can better work with INL, including more joint appointments. And we're willing to invest in those positions, just to really turbocharge this. We believe between the work being done on cyber and the NuScale reactor, that there's just going to be a lot of opportunity for our graduates to go work there, and we want to tee them up to do just that, and do the research that's important to INL to help get these things scaled up and distributed globally.
You mentioned briefly the President's Leadership Council, which you obviously greatly value, your relationship with your colleagues, your presidential colleagues. It strikes me that this is maybe a model for our leaders in Washington, D.C. Would you like to share the values and virtues of compromise and collaboration?
Boy, I sure would. It's sure easier to get things accomplished when you do, and I've learned that. And it's a benefit to all of us. It's an old saying and probably overused, but all boats do rise when you work together. There's just no question about it. And so if you can put your personal issues aside and do what's right, usually everyone benefits, including you. So I would hope that they could do that.
Our time together, unfortunately, is coming to a close, but there are many here in southeastern Idaho who are always eager for an update about the new Alumni Center and the basketball arena. What can you share with us as to the progress on those wonderful projects?
Yeah, so the arena will be ready, including the Alumni Center, which is part of that, will be open about this time next year, and I'm excited for it. I have to say, so it's not just our basketball teams that are excited about it. It's everybody. The arena is already getting greatly used by our engineering students, our College of Natural Resource students, and art and architecture, our architecture students, because it's so unique. And we're getting calls from other institutions, and we're getting a lot of press in the industry around this mass timber structure, because there's really nothing else like it. When you go on it, I mean, you look at it, it's just amazing that they can take these mass timber beams and bend them to their will. I've never seen anything like it. And some of the timbers there that have been bent, they're almost 90 degrees as they come out. We're done right, not too far from you there in Salmon, Idaho, at QB. It's just amazing what they're able to accomplish. So it's a beautiful structure. I encourage you to come to Moscow to see it. Hopefully see a basketball game this time next year, but it's going to be a real plus for the community. We can hold all sorts of events there, and educational opportunities.
I'm sure you're going to see a cavalcade of loyal Vandals heading to Moscow in the not too distant future to see that wonderful feat of engineering architecture. And so as we bring our time together, I take note of that beautiful backdrop, and I think it's tugging at the heartstrings of your alums down here who no doubt are already reaching for their checkbooks. They have been, and we have been, we've enjoyed our time with you today. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to hosting you again. All the best luck in the year ahead. Thank you, President Green, for joining us.
Thank you, David. Thanks to everybody. I've enjoyed it. Like I said, it's one of the better parts of my day. Take care, everyone. Happy holidays.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just enjoyed this session today with President Scott Green of the University of Idaho. We thank you for joining us here at the City Club of Idaho Falls. We wish you happy holidays, and we'll see you again on January 21 for the next presentation from the City Club of Idaho Falls. Take care.